All right, you're working now. Got audio. Should be good to go. Hey, Ryan. Hey, Viking. How you guys doing? I need to go. Where am I at here? Here's what I need. Copy this. For all you Klipper fiends, I'm doing this in StreamYard. So see if I can get Kennedy here. Where's he at? And where's Aaron at? Okay. All that done. Hey, Jim. All right, Kennedy's gonna hop in here in a minute. All right, so if you guys didn't see from the title, so over the past few days, I've been working with a bunch of the boys in the Discord, and we put Klipper on Ultra Magnus. Why? I don't freaking know. This printer was done, but I decided to muck with even more. Why not keep a project alive for like forever longer? But yeah, so now we're running Klipper on here. I did not do it on stream because I mean it literally took us 2.5 evenings to get it done, and I really did not want to try and figure it all out live because it's a lot. I really don't like setting it up so far. And Clipper is what Ryan has been hounding me for the past, I don't know, 6 months to try. So I finally tried it. So Clipper now runs. It does work. It does print. I have a test cube here that we're able to get done. I didn't print out the new flange. I was at work today, so I didn't have time to work on anything. But I do have a test print. I need to print out a new flange for the bare extruder, as it is not showing properly that filament is in there. So it ended up cutting out after first, I don't know, 7, 8 layers. Fixed it, continued to print, and went from there. But I think we solved the Z offset issue. It was definitely too close. But I think I might need to still do that a little bit. I like the way it is simple to do, but it wasn't as simple to actually do. So I don't know if it's just the bed warping too much or what it is. This is just the thin 24-volt aluminum bed that came with the printer. I didn't put anything special on here. So Brandon's here too. What's up? And yeah, so I do want to try to figure out a few things tonight. I would love to get a load and unload macro for this. I thought Kennedy was looking at some, but I don't know if he ended up finding any. I'll ask him when he gets here into the stream. And but I would like to get a load and unload macro. There's nothing. I don't think there's anything in here. If I do filament, yeah, there's just there's not a macro to load. It's just it starts the extruder in or out, either fast or slow. So I would like to do that, but the filament is a little bit old as it did crack there. So I do want to change that out. So we're going to go ahead and heat it up. If you're not familiar with Klipper, let me share a screen here. Share this screen. There we go. So this is, what is this called? This is the web interface for it. I renamed it to Ultra Magnus, but it was like Flippy Jippy, something like that. I don't know. But it's kind of like the Duet. If you see me work on the Duet 2 Wi-Fi has a web interface, and this is fairly similar to that. There actually is a mod you can do, so it is the same Fluid. Thank you, Ryan. So this is Fluid's version of Klipper, I guess. I don't know. Or this is the Fluid interface for Klipper. I don't know. But you control a lot of things here. You've got a set of macros that we've been setting up. And everything is on the fly with this config file here. Now, this is the part that I don't like about Klipper, and this might get way too nerdy for some people, but like nothing is set up in it except for like super basics. I grabbed the basic SKR 1.3 example config. We've been building off of that. It's super duper basic, and there's a lot of stuff not in there. Like basically it has the steppers in there, it has heated bed, and it has the bedside, things like that. Then it has for the drivers, and that's it. Oh, and the for the beginning part of the display, but not actually the display or anything else from that. So it took us again a few evenings here to kind of get all of this really set up properly and going. So I think we're definitely getting there, but just need to kind of continue with playing with it. But yeah, we are getting there. There's Aaron.
Hey, what's up?
So kind of just going over what we did, what Klipper looks like with this fluid interface. Is fluid just the web part of this, or is it like the fluid version of Klipper?
So Fluid is just the web interface. So you can use Fluid. That's really the biggest difference between Fluid and Mainsail, is that they're just two different web interfaces for really the guts of it are, Kennedy's going to beat me to it here, the back end, the API. Moonraker. Moonraker does all the work. Moonraker more or less basically replaces what Octoprint does because it's focused. It's a stripped down API that just does exactly what it needs to do without all the bloat of Octoprint. Did I say that right, Kennedy?
Yeah, pretty much. It's like if you put in Marlin terms, Fluid is like Octoprint, and then Klipper is your Marlin firmware, and then Moonraker is the serial connection, like the USB connection between Octoprint and Marlin.
Right.
Yeah, I forgot the name Fluid because I renamed it, so now it says Ultra Magnus. And I was like the flippy jippy thing or whatever it's called.
Right.
And so everybody knows this is running off of a Pi Zero right here that I have currently. I have not figured out how I'm going to power this yet, but yeah, I really don't know how I'm going to power this.
Pi Zero only takes I think like a 2.5 amp is, I don't even know if it takes like a 2 amp, probably fine for it. They don't take much power at all. Like
you could probably run it off of a 1 amp if you wanted to.
Yeah, there's not much.
I have 3 amp power converters. The problem is I have nowhere to put them.
Yeah.
On here, because this case is not big enough for that.
Yeah, that's something we may want to. Well, but that's kind of your own doing. I mean, you shoved that massive.
Well, that's out of here now. So so I did change that. It's hard for it to see it, but there goes the filament.
Yeah, didn't need that.
But anyways, I mounted the Easy ABL deal underneath the 2040 now, so there is space in here, but it's still like the LCD cables are still stupid long, so they're all coiled up in there, and then just like I always leave a little extra slack for power and things like that, so some of that's down in there because I like to have a little bit of flexibility.
So I don't know how it is on the SKR 1.3, but I know on the 1.4 you can actually power a Pi Zero from the 1.4 serial ports. It has enough power to do that.
I mean, it'd be pretty easy to put a multimeter on it and check the amperage. Well, I guess not really, because it's not going to. That's only when it's pulling under load.
Yeah, I just don't know if the 1.3 has. I don't know if the 1.3 has the juice to do it though. I mean, or not the juice, but the pins. Really, I've never used the 1.3, so I'm not sure.
Well, that definitely sounds like a research point for the near future.
Yeah, let me see what I can come up with.
We can just have Aaron be Mr. Google tonight. All right, Kennedy. So I did not I was at work all day today, and when I got home, it was just we had issues with dinner. Pizza place wasn't open. I went to go get pizza, so I didn't have anything for dinner. So we had to like figure it out. I don't know. Dinner took like 2 hours extra long. I see you got your little Volron Zero sitting there beside you.
Yep. I
Showing
worked
that
on
off.
it a little bit today.
It's
I
so
worked on the
cute.
wiring. Yep.
Well, honestly, it does. I know it's small because I know what it is. But if you didn't know that it was only like 2 feet behind you, you'd think it was like 12 feet behind you. It was a huge printer.
Yeah, this is what always puts in perspective with me. So here's a regular Prusa size build plate. That's how big the V0 build size
So
is.
insane how small that is.
Yeah, so the size that it is on your screen, everyone, real size, actual size.
Real
Yeah,
size.
it's the first thing that comes out of everybody's mouth when they get the extrusions for it is like, wow, this is a lot smaller than I thought it was.
It's 2015, right? 2015 extrusions?
15.
15. I don't know why. Yeah. So yeah. It's such I feel like that was a weird choice because 1515 extrusions are so hard to come by. Like, why didn't you go down to 1010?
Because M3 nuts. So
you can do M3s and 1010s though. I mean, that's how the rail core is.
Maybe, but so the reason why they went with 1515s was because one of the reasons, I don't know the real reason, but the easiest way is just that you can go to Maker Beam and all of the extrusions on the V0 are the same size. So you just have to order a bunch of the same extrusion. And so Maker Beam was actually like the place to go to get them. And I guess that's just what they decided on.
Well, so.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So do you want me to get started on this print, or do you want to try and figure out some load and unload scripts?
Well, we could do the load and unload while it's printing the calibration.
Okay. I accidentally knocked off the thing, so I'm just having it re-level real quick. So I did have. Did you see this print finish last night?
I did not.
Okay, let me show you real quick here. Cam settings here, Logitech. There we go. So here is how it came off. Focused, yeah. So you can definitely see the issues there. I think I didn't recalculate E-steps again. I just took what was in Marlin and did the calculation. And then this line right here is where it resumed print. So obviously it did miss a little bit there. So not horrible, but again, with this filament, you can see every little bit of issue. But there is no ghosting. But again, it's only going normal printing speed is 1,000 millimeters a second. That's the normal acceleration. So not horrible, but not great.
Yeah, so let me see. I actually have an example of what we're going to try to do. Let me see if I can go find it.
All right, and I'm going to pull up that.
Oops. Okay.
Turn you up a little bit, you're a little quiet for me.
I can turn my gain up a bit.
There we go. I just adjusted for me. If it's fine for everybody else.
Oh, okay.
A Pi Zero with Wi-Fi consumes 1.2 amps.
Okay.
So you could, it would take the tiniest of buck converters if even that.
I just have the 3 to 36 volt ones, like the standard. You know what I mean?
Well, yeah, but some of them, like I've got a couple that are like 10 by 15, and they're buck converters, but you can't. I don't think they're even 3 amps. But then you can get the bigger ones that'll handle like 5 amps. That'll actually put out 5 amps. So
yeah, I know these are here.
All right, let me see if I can get this on the webcam.
All right.
But can you see all that ringing?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Oh yeah, I see it now. Yeah.
So that was before Input Shaper, and at the top it layer shifted, so I ripped the tops off. Now I'll show you the same exact side on the print after input shaper.
That's amazing. I really need to do that.
It's still a little there. It's still a little bit there, but like it's pretty much all gone.
And did you use one of the accelerometers, or was that just based off the print?
That was me just measuring this print right here and with some calipers and plugging it into the equation. I do have an accelerometer, but I just haven't had the time to actually solder it. And then I need to make some breakout cables so that I can keep like an extension cable in my switch wire and just pull it out whenever I want to tune it, because it's kind of a pain to get to the electronics on a switch wire. So
Yeah, I bet. Yeah, I mean, on the full size Voron, you just reach around. I mean, they're so easy to get to the electronics, but on a switch wire, because they're underneath, like everything's underneath, right?
yeah, you have to flip the printer. You have to take the bottom panel off, and then that's how you get to everything. So that's my project for this weekend, I think.
Jeez.
Yeah.
that
Put
the
a little
frame behind you?
Nice.
Yeah, so that's switch wire. I'm filling up my room with. I need some prints to put on shelves, so I'm printing the Prusa Dragon, the Adelinda.
Adelinda, yeah.
All right, so there's the file. Oh, you can't see that. Well, let me switch to here. There we go. All right, there's the file. And pull this over to here. So I won't be able to see chat for a minute. All right, so you said we need to do this in vase mode.
Yeah, so 0.2 layer height.
Okay.
And then I would add another bottom layer, so just have it be 4.
Okay.
And then go to your speeds.
Okay.
Set everything to 100, except for travel and first layer.
Oh, wow, okay.
Oh wait, you're running the 0.5 nozzle on this, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so I bump it down to like 90, just so that we don't accidentally over push anything.
I mean, it's a 0.5 of the standard V6. It's non-volcano.
And then for your accelerations, set everything to 7,000.
Ooh, okay. Max print
And
speed.
then, yep, that's all fine. And then go to your filament settings.
Okay.
Go to cooling.
Okay.
And then disable auto cooling. And then set the minimum fan speed to 100. We want to blast this thing with air.
Okay.
And then you're ready to slice.
That looks right.
Yep. And so now we need to go to your fluid configuration.
Okay. Where's that at? That is here. Okay. No, that's the cube. Where'd it go? Oh, it's in this window here. Ultra Magnus. Here we go. Okay.
Go to your config.
All right. Printer, config, edit.
And then go to your just the printer section.
Oh, right here. Okay.
So you want to set your max XL to 7,000.
Okay.
Then you're going to want to add another section, which is max XL to D cell.
In the bracket.
No, in the printer section. So
Oh, here. So max underscore cell
to D cell. Yep,
Okay.
just like that, and set that to 7,000.
Okay.
And then I'm pulling up the second. We need to set your square corner velocity, which I think you're gonna have to add it to your config. I don't see it in there.
I don't think so. What's it called?
I'm looking that up right now. It's just square underscore corner underscore velocity. And
Okay.
set that to 5.
Now,
And
is
then,
that the same as like jerk?
yep.
Okay.
It's not exactly the same as like Marlin jerk, but it's like the same concept. So,
Yeah, it's the between those. Okay. As it
mhm.
changes.
And then you're good to go there. So you can save
Okay.
that and restart. And then you can, once that boots back up, then do you have the resonance testing GitHub page?
I have what you sent me. This.
So you want to scroll down in that a bit.
Okay.
Oh, scroll up where we want to go to number 1. So we did the max XL to decel. We did
Yep.
square corner velocity. So now you want to, just in case, you want to send that set pressure advance command. Send that through the console.
Okay. All right.
And then you want to send that tuning tower command on step 6.
So this right here.
Yep. So Klipper has this like nice thing where it had this tuning tower command. So what this whole command means is that it's going to start you at 1250 acceleration on everything, and then every 5 layers it's going to go up 100 acceleration pretty much until it gets to the top and it hits 7,000. Now, your printer may or may not hit 7,000, which is fine, because you probably are never going to run that printer at 7,000.
Oh,
That thing
no.
won't hit 7,000.
But we'll just wait till it layer shifts, or you see like really bad artifacts start popping up, and then cancel the print, and then we can measure off of that.
Okay, I'm just gonna get this filament loaded real quick. Why are you not working? Oh, I don't. That's the offset. I want to do. Oh, it's because I'm not at temperature anymore. 1 second.
Shane, I printed off a Prusa Mini Y bracket with the Voron. I did it with the 0.6 nozzle to see how it would come out.
Yeah.
It almost worked, except for the very, very top on that really thin spot.
Yeah.
It could. I was like, dang it, because it's a freaking beast of a part.
Yeah, that's the one issue with that. That's one part I don't like about that model is that those Y rails are close. Like there's not a lot of plastic holding
It's
it down.
not even a mil. I checked out the model. It's like 0.9 millimeters there at the top of those rails.
Yeah, that's just super low.
It's like the only thing keeping you from being able to print it on a bigger nozzle. Like you have to print this on a 0.4 nozzle.
Yeah.
Or
But
less.
yeah, I printed mine pretty beefy with the 0.4.
It's a cool trick they did on the inside of it, though. They actually put. I mean, I may have to show this. They actually put holes, like not holes. There's like hollow cavities, like really thin hollow cavities down it. So when it prints, the slicer see those hollow. There's such thin cavities, it's still, but it basically makes it more solid because there's a hollow cavity because it doesn't let the slicer print the infill. So it actually ends up making using more filament, even though there's a hollow cavity in the model. It's a really cool trick, and it's why these things are so beefy.
All right, when I send this command, is it going to do anything or no?
It's not going to do anything. So you're going to want to send that command and then just start the print.
All right, let me get back to here. Where are we at? Prusa.
Yeah, I heard about that, Stony, but I don't actually own any Prusas, so I can't order anything from Prusa.
Yeah, you have to buy at least one thing from them. You have to buy at least one printer to be able to have access to the spare parts.
I have bought 0 from them.
Well, I mean, one day maybe.
Maybe. I don't have room for the couple printers I have. I gotta clean the garage.
I feel ya.
Yeah, but okay, Kennedy, let's look at Aaron's background. Let's look at this, and then look at yours. You have that whole wall behind you. It's empty.
Yeah, well, see, my problem isn't space because I have a little bit more space left. It's power. I have a really crappy breaker in my room. And so if I have the Prusa and the switch wire going at the same time while watching TV, for whatever reason, I'm pretty sure I have a 20 amp breaker for my room, but it still trips. So,
Ooh. You know, you may just need to replace the actual breaker itself. I had that happen with my dryer. It was a dryer, so it was a 220, but still, I mean, it kept popping the breaker.
Yep.
I kept thinking, what is wrong with like the wiring in the house? The house isn't that old, and then the dryer was new. I did a little research. Breakers wear out, so it may be that your breaker's just worn out.
I think this breaker has like built-in GFCI into it. So I'm thinking that there's something in my room because I also have a mini fridge and a little bit of other things. There's something that maybe not playing well with the GFCI.
That could do it too.
I'm cleaning out our networking room right now, and I'm gonna shove all the printers in there later this year. So
there you go.
Nice.
Oh, Stoney's here. What's up, man?
Oh, there he is.
Sorry, I wasn't paying attention to chat.
Stoney, I just saw your message on on Discord. That's an interesting thought. I like that about saying you bought it secondhand. Yeah, interesting.
So they let you. So my first Prusa was a used Mark IIs, and if you have if the sticker is still on the printer, and you have the serial number, if you contact Prusa support, then they'll give you access to the spare parts. They have no problem with it.
That's enough to prove to them, I have this printer. I need parts. Nice.
And they'll activate your account. So
nice.
I wonder if you can do that more than once. I can give one of my serials.
So yeah, I bought a Shane's printer.
I mean, I bought multiple stuff with them because I bought the Mark IIIs, I bought the MMU2, and now the Mini.
Oh yeah, you've bought 2 full printers from them, haven't you? Yeah.
Yeah.
So are you still waiting on like the official Mini?
Yes.
Okay.
It said it wouldn't ship until late January or early February. So I'm expecting in the next, a week or two, hopefully, that it'll ship. And then I'm hoping to have it by the end of February is kind of what I'm hoping for. So we'll see what happens.
Yeah, it has its nice little quirks with it.
Well, so far, I mean, the clone that I have is fantastic. I mean, it works great.
Well, I mean, you can get the clone kit in, what did it take you, a week, technically, to your...
Yeah, because it ships from the U.S. warehouse, the AliExpress U.S. warehouse. It comes really quick.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure I'm going to test that here. I mean, the price isn't as good as you got it on the 11/11 sale, but the thing is, I have... Say again?
Like I got it for $220. It's $240 now.
Right, but what I can't tell, there's one that on FiSec that's $240. It does not say that it comes with a Meanwell, and then there's another option that's like $250 that definitely comes with a Meanwell, and I don't know if I want to roll the dice on whether or not it comes with a Meanwell.
Oh, the one I bought definitely said comes with a Meanwell, and I checked the serial off Meanwell's warranty website, and it is a it is a real mean well.
Yeah. It would be kind of nice to have that. It's a good selling point.
Yeah, well, I
Yeah.
mean, I guess if you're gonna do what you're doing, then yeah. But
Yeah, for me, I wouldn't care.
yeah, I mean, honestly, I'm not a power supply snob like many people are.
I'm not.
I mean, yeah, because you and I buy the cheapest 24 volt one. It's like
Yep.
$18 on Amazon.
Haven't had a problem with it yet.
All right, it is starting now, Kennedy. So let's just get this going, and then we can confirm. So once it gets started, then we can look at those other scripts. Probably just gonna do the 32 like once because it's already close. That's the one thing that kind of bugs me. It homes twice because I have G28 in G32.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and depending on how much stuff you throw at it, like, do you want it to do the Z tilt before you do a bed level? That means you have to have done a homing before it'll do the Z tilt, and then it does another homing before it does the bed level. So
Yes. So you could get rid of the G28 and your G32 if you wanted to, because so like on a fresh printer reboot, if you try to run a G32 before the printer's homed, it won't let you. You'll have to. So it's up to you. It's like you could get rid of it so it only homes once during your start G code, and then just deal with having to remember to home it before you do the Z tilt. Or you could so instead of putting G32 in your start G code, just swap that G32 over to Z tilt adjust, so it doesn't run your macro with G28 in it.
Oh, that's interesting. Let me look that up. I'm going to pull this up so if anybody wants to see what this is. Whoop, that's not the right one. That's what I want right there. Okay. So there's the mesh Z tilt adjust. So copy that and then print start. Put it right there.
Yep.
Like that. Right?
So now it will only home once.
All right. I like that. Efficiency. We're on it. And it's doing a 5x5 grid is what I currently have it set at. I may up it to a 7x7 grid. I don't know, but right now 5x5 is what it is.
And if you ever up it to 7x7, just know that you need to change your relative reference index. So,
Okay.
yeah. And so the easy way to calculate that is you take how many points you have. So if you do 7x7, you'll have 49 points total.
Mm-hmm.
And then you subtract 1 because Klipper starts at 0 on the Beshmet. So your first point is 0.0. So you technically have 48 points. And then you divide that by 2, and so you get 24. So 24 will be your new relative reference index.
Ah, okay.
And that index is really just it's really just where you want Klipper to base your bed mesh off of. So I've always just done it at the center of the bed because that's where typically there's a screw or something, at least on like a Prusa bed.
Yeah, on a Prusa bed, yeah.
So you know that it's flat there and it's at the distance it should be at. And then you also just want to, like we did yesterday, you want to also do your Z offset there because the Z offset is tied to the reference index in some way. I remember somebody explained it to me, but it kind of went over my head. So
I'm just making sure this first layer goes down nicely.
Who all's in chat? Let's see. Viking, Brandon's here, Ryan's here, Jim's here.
All right, it's starting.
Either Shane's mom or dad. Can't tell. Oh, your mom. Nice.
Oh,
And not your mom joke. Actually, your mom.
Oh. It's like usually my parents just use my mom's YouTube account when they log in.
Well, she actually said is your mom. At least I think that's what. Anyway, let's see. Richard's here. Stoney obviously has been chatting with me. Didn't I see Mr. Lightspeed somewhere too? I think so. Yep.
Oh, that was my dad saying, "I'm gonna take your mother back." My mom was here with us for almost 2 months, and now she's back in the States with dad. So.
Gotcha. Well, she was there for 2 months. Cool.
Yeah, almost. Yeah, just shy. She ended up cutting a little bit short because she wanted to get home before the inauguration, just in case anything got crazy, which obviously it did. But yeah, before anything got crazy, she wanted to be home before actual inauguration day. So she left here on the 18th, got home on the 19th. All right, Kennedy, I think we're good to go, man.
Awesome.
So
that print takes a little while, but luckily you can stop it when you know it's past the point of good.
Yeah, well, I mean, it said in precise, it's only a 49-minute print.
Yeah, and like,
dang,
in my experience, bed flingers usually get about bed flingers usually get about halfway through it, and then it's about like on Core XYs, you'll hopefully you make it through the whole thing, or else there's something wrong mechanically with your printer.
Okay. So I'm gonna keep this up, and I wanted to find Klipper, load, filament, macro. No, that's change filament. We already did M600. There's another thing we had to figure out. Last night we figured that out was the old M600 deal. And if you don't, you have to explicitly put it in there so that, because I use Proof Slicer and I do dual color prints like this one here. And if I don't have that in there, then I can't use that feature in Proof Slicer. So
it's easier in general anyway, because I'm assuming that's what Kira does, is just throws an M600 at it.
No one uses Kira here.
Yeah, I mean, that's why I said I'm assuming. Really, who cares? I actually haven't even looked at it in Idea Maker. I'm assuming it's an M600.
So M14 saying, does it ever make sense having a Core XY top end on a vertical movement as well? So isn't that the same as a Voleron?
So, like, you would have it in the XZ direction?
Oh, that way. I mean, that's a Core XZ then.
Yeah, that's what SwitchWire is.
Yeah, so yeah, that's a SwitchWire.
I mean, it's really like, I guess if you like, what's it called? If you like fast Z hops, that's pretty much it. And you want a belted Z, which like, it doesn't save that much time. I don't think there's really benefits between like a belted Z versus lead screws. I have lead screw Z printers that print just as well as my belted Z printers. Now, belted Z printers are quieter. They're you can do ridiculous speeds. There's a Voron 2.4 out there that has Z-axis with no reduction on it, and he's using keybacks as like counterweights, like constant force springs
on the 2.4.
Yeah, and he can do 200 millimeters a second Z movements. It's ridiculous watching that thing go up and down.
I'll have to go look for that.
Yeah,
See,
so
this is my thing
it's crazy.
Why?
He just wanted to figure it out.
Yeah.
I mean, I get a lot. 9 times out of 10, or 99 times out of 100, it is because I can. Like, you know, and I get that with a lot of people. That's also a lot of people make the rail cores because they go, rail core go brr like real fast. So, like I get that, but for like the average Joe out there, speed really doesn't matter. Like,
well,
especially
one of his main things was to he was trying to help get rid of bill materials. So like, because if you go look at Voron 2.4 bill materials, it's ridiculous how much stuff you have to buy, and for the Z alone, there's like you have to go get a belt, you have to get an 80 tooth pulley. There's about 20 heat certs per Z thing. There's a ridiculous amount of heat certs. There's like 4 printed parts, and he like cut it in half with his single Z, like no reduction Z and a keyback. So
that's why this thing is so much cheaper than a 2.4, because the Z is uber simple.
And that's 1.8.
The parts to mount the rods are like these tiny little mounts, and that's it.
Mm-hmm.
Aaron, you said
that's a 1.8.
Yeah, mine's a 1.8. Yeah, I probably would have gone with a 2.4, but I didn't have the frame. I had to order the extrusions for the frame. Other than that, I probably had 90% of the parts just sitting around from another printer I took apart to make that. So that's the main reason I went with a 1.8, because it really let me do it for, like, I bet I've got $600 into that.
Mm-hmm. Now I see somebody talking about Voron Zero kits. There's some good kits out there. There's Magic Studios, which they have a vendor channel on the Voron Discord. And then there's another one that people have been using, which I've only seen a couple printers, but I mean, I got my V0 through Magic Studios, and that's who I'd recommend going for if you want a kit. I know Magic Studios is also doing, he's starting to play with Voron 1 and Voron 2 kits. The only thing you have to provide yourself, just because of shipping, is the build plate, and I think it's just the build plate, really, and then everything else comes in a big box. So
yeah, because I know when I did the BLV, that was 2 or 3 boxes, and the one box was just extrusion because it's like 70 pounds of extrusion.
Yeah, and Magic Studios gives you the real deal. Like, he gets Misumi extrusions. He gets, I think he's now doing LDO motors, so you get good motors. He iterates on his kits every time, so it's really hard to say what he has in them. But every time he iterates, he always puts something better because somebody complained about something, and so he found something better, and then hooked the rest of the people up with it if they wanted to switch to it also. So,
oh, cool.
Yeah, and kind of I see somebody talking about the switchwire again. Like, I totally think. I mean, the switchwire is kind of just a cool to have. Like, but at the same time, if it's going to get rid of potentially get rid of Z banding. I mean, it's going to take care of that. I feel like that's the biggest thing it could take care of with Z wobble. But if you've got a printer that's a nice printer frame with something that some company that may have used rollers on for your Z, it's a good candidate to make it better.
Yeah, so they do have there's the Ender 3 switchwire mod. There's a few of them out there. They're not official, but they're in I think the Voron users GitHub. So there's a couple people working on them. There's a CR10 mod. I think somebody did that Biku printer, I think.
Oh, really? The Big Tree Tech, what is it? The H1 or whatever they called it, or
something like that. I think somebody's working on that one. They're popping up every day because the B1, I think.
Okay,
yeah. Everybody's just doing it. Everybody's just converting all their Cartesians over to switchwire, which, I mean, it's not a bad thing, but
well, I mean, like I said, when you got a printer that uses wheels, which obviously I'm not a fan of, using wheels for your motion, it's a great way to make it better and still use the same frame.
Yeah. Like, would I, if I didn't have 80% of the parts for a switch wire already like in my room, would I build one from scratch? Probably not.
Yeah, and
Because
I don't have to go build one.
Yeah, because you if you're gonna build one from scratch, you could pay maybe like $100 or $200 more, get yourself a 1.8. If you really hate your Prusa and you want to move it over to a switch wire, that's a good option because the only thing you have to buy pretty much is the frame, the rails, and yeah, that's about it really, and like more wire. And then yeah, so like so the switch wire, it started off just as a rainy day project, a COVID project, pretty much.
Sure.
And fun fact, it was actually never supposed to use belts. The reason why it's called switch wire is because it was going to be a cable driven 3D printer.
I was wondering why they called it switch wire.
Yeah. So like that really thin steel wire, or I'm not really sure what it's called, but
it's like
that was
200-pound test fishing wire.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, exactly. Yeah. So like that was actually the whole reason, and then I'm not sure why they switched back to belts. Maybe because it wasn't feasible or something. But that's where the name Switchwire came out.
Probably because it was easier to do the gears and the pulleys. Just easier people to would be my guess. I mean, I don't know.
All right, Kenny. So check this out. I found on Bondtech's website. They had some scripts here. So I don't know if these will work or not. So the G like this, right? So G code, macro, and then what I want to call it, right?
And then you need a G code colon. See the macros like right above it. How it has that G code colon? Yep. So if you add it right there, that's good enough.
Perfect.
Okay.
So the G21, I don't know if Klipper actually supports that or not.
Okay, I can pull it out. It's just I literally just copy and paste this off the Bondtech off Bondtech's website right here. They just had the
I don't think you need that, so you could probably get rid of that. But the rest of it looks fine.
So it's doing G90, absolute positioning. I don't need all these in here. I don't really care. And does semicolons comment out, or has to be a pound sign?
It has to be a pound sign, I'm pretty sure.
You can do a semicolon. No. It'll do everything after it.
Yeah. If it's in a G code macro, then semicolon should work.
Okay. So pretty absolute positioning. And then this, I'm going to do load PLA filament. And then I can do underscores in this, right?
Yep.
That'll make it easier to read. And does caps matter or no?
Caps does not matter.
Okay. It looks prettier. Okay. So low PLA filament, it's going to do 200, and then it's E0, and then
now that's 600 millimeters of filament's going to trigger the over.
Yeah, we only need to do like 150 is more than enough. Whoop.
FYI, G21 does work in Klipper.
Oh, cool.
So we're going to do G1, E150, F2000. That is change 150 filament. 2,000 millimeters a minute. What's that in like normal?
That is
divided by 60. That's 33 millimeters a second. That's pretty fast. So what would
you probably want to knock it down.
So if we do 1,000, that would be 15, 16. So we could do, let's do 800. So 800 divided by 60, that's 13 millimeters a second. That's still a little fast. Let's do 500. That's fine. 500 millimeters a minute. So 100 divided by 60, that's 8.3. That's fine. Doesn't need to be that fast. And then G92 E0 at the end of it. Okay. So then unload G90. And this is going to be unload. Actually, we're just going to keep this as unload filament because now we're going to do it as load filament. I'm just going to up the temperature for everything because I can load at 240. Doesn't matter.
Now, if you want, you could add a variable into this macro, and you can have it so that you can set, like, whenever you run the load filament macro, you can set it to run at like 215 or 225, and then have a default value.
You could probably have it grab your first layer value, your first layer temp value.
Well, so, I mean, no, this is going to be a separate. So this is like I boot up the machine, like I just booted it up right now, and I'm like, okay, I'm going to print PETG, and I want to load that filament in. I want to be able to click a button and then tell it PETG and then load the filament.
I gotcha.
Okay, if you're going to do it that way, then that would be easier to just have multiple.
Yeah, and then you can add those in the macros menu. You can that way you can do it from your from the printer. You don't have to come back to the web server.
Yeah, I mean, I'm happy to try and figure out how to do that. The thing Kenny was just talking about.
Well, I think his idea is good, but to get to the point that you want, where it's going to be basically from no power, like he was talking about. Correct me if I'm wrong, Kennedy. You were talking about doing it like mid print.
Oh no, I was like, you do, like, say you just turned on your printer, you want to unload the filament, so you do your unload filament macro because that will be the same for most things, and then say you want to go from load PETG filament, so in the console you type load _ filament, and then you would have a variable called temp, and then you would set and then you'd also say temp equals 240 or temp equals 215 for PLA. It depends if you want to type something into the console or if you want to have a button. Because if you want to have a button,
then I feel like you're going to want a button, and you're also going to want to make a custom the macros menu so you can do it from your printer. That way you don't have to go back and forth between your computer and the printer.
Yeah, so I did see somewhere in here how to do that. I still need to figure that out. I haven't done that yet.
It's super easy. Once you've got the macros set up, creating that extra menu is real easy. It's copy paste.
So S240. Okay, so on the unload, we're doing G90, and we're setting this to the 240 again. We're going to heat it up. It's going to extrude 10 millimeters. Then it's going to do that. Then it's going to go E negative. We're going to do negative 150 at, we're going to pull a little faster than load. So we went in at 500. We pull out at 800. Or I guess we'll do pull out at 1,000. Super pull out speed. So 150 at 1,000. Yeah, change the 150 for blah, blah, blah. I'm keeping this because I do eventually want to put this config out there if somebody wants to try Klipper on an Ultra Magnus machine, because I already have Marlin built, so I'm going to publish Marlin with it. And then I also could put out this config for someone if they want to try Klipper on their machine.
Yeah.
And
The
Let
only
me
thing
know.
we would have
Are you
to
going to put that in
change.
your GitHub, or where are you going to put that, Shane?
I don't know. I honestly don't know yet. I mean, I have a GitHub. I guess I could do that.
Well,
I just absolutely suck with GitHub and everything like that. Like
me too. That's why I don't use mine. But if you figure out where you got it posted, let me know, and I'll link to it in the Ultra Magnus download.
in the build, yeah. So this looks good for the unload filament then, Kennedy?
Yeah, it looks like it'll work.
Mike, no, this is not a Volron machine. This is an Anet 38 Plus that Aaron did a lot of beautification to, and it is now called Ultra Magnus.
Beautification and hopefully some performance increase.
Yeah, I mean,
hopefully.
We'll definitely know after doing now Klipper on it, because again, this is supposed to be superior and everyone keeps crying about it, so we're trying it out now. Everyone said the same thing about Duet. I get people on my shit list about not doing Klipper after I tried Duet. So well, we definitely are starting to see some variation. I'd say at the first hump, we only have a little bit of ringing, and then now we're seeing it for a little ways.
Yeah, so the goal is we need the more, I guess, ringing artifacts you can measure on a single like line of ringing, the better. So like I usually shoot to try and at least have 4 like ringing artifacts in a row from left to right. So that, because then you measure the distance between the first one and the fourth one.
We're up to about, I'd say maybe 2, if not maybe 3. We are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I think we're on like number 6 now, I think.
Yeah, it looks like you're at about probably like 2,500 Excel right there.
See what it says here. We're at 3,500 now.
Oh, okay.
That's right. It tells you. Nice.
Yeah, that's the
and so that's one of the really nice things I like is like, so like you remember linear trying to tune linear advance on your BLV and how you had to do that like one layer really hard to get to stick test pattern.
Yeah.
So what Klipper does is, I wonder if I have one. I think I threw my last one away. But you run that tuning tower test, and what it does is it starts your pressure advance at 0 at the bottom, and at the top of the tower, depending on if you choose direct drive or Bowden, it'll keep upping the pressure advance until the end of the print, and then you just go get some calipers and measure the height of the print at where the corner looks the best, and then plug it into a calculator, and then you're good to go. You just tuned your pressure advance. It only takes 1 print to do.
Wow.
It makes a big difference too. And it's a super easy, quick print.
Stoney, yes, this is fluid interface for Klipper.
The other option to fluid is called mainsail. The only difference is how they look.
Mm-hmm.
There's probably a few. I mean, in general, you pick the one you like.
And then
one is not so much superior to the other that you have to worry about it.
What was that one called that you did, Aaron?
Oh, so that's a little script. It's called Kaiua or something like that. What the Kaiua script does is lets you choose it's easiest to start with like a fluid or mainsail install on your Pi. Then you can load up that little script and it lets you choose, okay, I want to add, mainsail on top of fluid, or the Duet web interface on top of fluid, or remove stuff that you've got. It's just a little easy way to configure stuff, and it also does updates for you too. But not something you need by any stretch. It's a fun thing to have.
Yeah. Now my question is, when you do that, can you still manage the multiple printers with the Duet interface, or no?
Oh, the way you can in fluid, where you can.
So right here on the side, I can just add the printers.
I doubt
No.
it,
Okay.
but you can have both running like I do on mine that I'm not using. I was just playing with it. So I've got Fluid and Duet Web Control. The Duet Web Control, and Kennedy helped me set this up. It's just on a different port. It's on port 81 as opposed to port 80.
Ah, okay.
That's it.
Mm-hmm. And the nice thing is since everything goes through the Moonraker API, if you start a print in Fluid, like all the status, all your temps will also show up in Duet Web Control too.
Ah,
So
okay.
you can, like, if you start a print in Fluid, you're not stuck in Fluid for the whole entire print. You can head on over to Duet Web Control and fiddle around in there if you want to.
I feel like the Duet Web Control is great for information, but the Fluid interface is better as an interface to your printer. But that's just it's all personal preference at that point.
Now, does Klipper have a power loss recovery?
I don't know.
I don't think so yet.
Okay, because that would be nice to have. Because again, that's still why I always print, like anything critical I need to print, always go on the Mark 3S, always, because it has power loss recovery.
No, Mike, I would love to say I was that smart, but no, I most certainly did not write the Kaiua. I believe Ryan and Kennedy both told me about it at about the same time.
Yeah. So Stoney's asking, what are the advantages of Klipper? So Kennedy, if you don't mind kind of explaining that, because I'm just learning it, so I'm definitely not the person to say.
So it's really like a personal preference, and also there's some advantages in some cases. So the big thing with Klipper is that it runs on the Raspberry Pi, so you have all of that processing power that you don't get from running on like a I'm not going to go into 32-bit because it's like about the same performance wise, but like if I wanted to, I could build a printer right now, run it with a ramps board, and get the same and get more performance out of the ramps board than I would like running like a INC board just standalone with Marlin. Because since there's no real, when you use Klipper, you're turning the MCU or the processor on the 3D printer board into like a slave board. And so all it's doing is just sending signals to and from the Raspberry Pi. And the Pi's telling it to either check a temp, turn on a pin, or move a motor. So you don't have Marlin bogging it down, and so you just get more step rate out of it. Now, with 32-bit boards, is it a later? Come back later. Now, is it a now if I compare like a SKR 1.4 turbo to Klipper, will I see a huge benefit from Klipper? Probably not, but
Not much.
maybe a little. And then it's also what you prefer software wise too. Like I know Shane's really into Marlin. Like if I gave Shane a random printer, and he could probably figure out in like a little while, get a config setup for it better than I could.
Nice
at
way
least
to put it. In a little while, he'd figure it out. Yeah, I would.
it would take me like
Layer 12.
I tried getting a Marlin config for my Hypercube going, and it took me like 2.5 days because I'm just so used to Klipper. I personally like the way Klipper sets everything up because I don't like having everything all in the file already. I like putting what I need to put, but I know Shane likes having everything there in Marlin because you can just Control F it and then fill in the blanks.
It's the way they're built are from two completely separate mentalities. So like the benefit of having Marlin, one of the benefits of having Marlin is that all your, like Shane, you saw Shane changing everything in the config. You just hit save and there it is in your printer. It's ready to go. But to do that, it has to have the power of a Raspberry Pi. It has to have the storage of a Raspberry Pi. Everything has to be there all the time. So it's a big install. With Marlin, you compile it. You have to compile it every time you make a change. But the fact that you're compiling it every time means when you do that compile, you are shrinking it down to just what you put in, what settings you put in for Marlin. So that's how you can put Marlin on tiny little microcontrollers and have it still run just fine.
Yeah,
so that's one of the big differences. But like I said, it's a completely different way of building the OS or the firmware, if you want to call it that.
Yeah, and there's some cool stuff too. Like, for example, so on my switch wire, I actually have 3 different processors running everything. So I have a SKR Mini that does like usual printer stuff. I have a Klipper expander board which has like 5 MOSFETs, 2 extra thermistor ports, a NeoPixel port, just like a bunch of random stuff. And so that controls all of my LEDs and my underbody fans. And then my LCD display is also, instead of running those ribbon cables, I actually have a board that plugs into the back of that PhysTech display. And so that display is running off of USB right now, just like a micro USB, and it goes to the Pi. So I have 3 MCUs on that entire printer, and Klipper lets me do that.
Right. It's a great way to use, like, I mean, if you want to jump in, okay, let me back up. Like, I want to build a Voron 2.4. It takes 7 steppers for a Voron 2.4. Is that right? Minimum?
Yeah, minimum.
So
that's what Triple Z.
Right. So, okay, well, you could go buy a single board that there's some boards out there that have up to 9 stepper drivers now. They're hard to find and they're kind of expensive. Or you go grab a cheap Raspberry Pi and grab any 2 boards off the shelf, plug them both into your Raspberry Pi, and you could have, depending on what 2 boards you grabbed, maybe there are a couple of SKRs, there's 10 drivers right there.
Yeah. So it's really like, it's kind of like, you can't really say if one's better than the other, because Marlin's better for some people compared to Klipper. Like, if I were to give my robotics team a printer, I would give them a printer with Marlin, because they'll know how to get into the firmware if they ever have to. They have SD card. That's the one thing with Klipper, is that there's no SD card support. So if you want to print, you have to send the file through Fluid or Octoprint or Duet Web Control. So if you need SD card support, then you need to be on Marlin. Or does Duet do the SD card printing too?
I think Arrow has the SD card working on his panel too. Ryan, correct me if I'm wrong. The other big good thing about Marlin is this is all you need to run Marlin.
Yeah.
On board. I mean, that's the downfall of being able to have all that expandability is you need more than one board.
Now we're having layer shifts.
Okay, so you can stop the print.
I hit cancel in Fluid, and yeah, I need to fix the cancel print, I guess, because
that
cancel button I don't like, because it didn't do anything. It just stopped right there.
Yeah.
And then,
there isn't a stop print button.
Well, the cancel should.
I mean, there's the kill all button, but like Shane said, that stops everything where it is.
He clicked the pause. Did you click the pause print?
No, I clicked cancel next to it. There's pause and there's cancel.
Oh, yeah. So,
because I have in here for cancel. Where is it at? I gotta find it here real quick.
So if you go to that G code macro for pause, you can actually add movements to it. So if you want to like lift the extruder up and then move it off to the left or the right.
Just trying to find out where the heck it's at. I try to keep everything in here organized, but yeah. So there's the pause, resume, cancel print. Yeah, so that, okay, let me pull this up real quick so you can see it. So cancel print just does this. Turns off the heater, clear pause, resets the file, and cancel print.
Okay. Because
And that's for the cancel print macro. That's not for the cancel button.
yeah, because so probably the reason why I never ran into that because on main sale, in order to cancel the print, you have to pause the print first.
Okay.
So
You did, Ryan.
I saw that too, Aaron.
I figured. I thought I'd throw it up there. I thought it was pretty cool that
I like it. But yeah, I can change it later, but at least I know I can use that macro. I can use that macro during a print, right?
pause.
No, the cancel print macro.
Yep.
Because I just have it right here. So I can just hit cancel_print, and then that will do whatever I tell it to do.
Yes, but if you want it to like lift up and move it to the side, I would hit pause first. Let it do that.
That's here, because this pool changes to tune.
Yep.
So you pause and then cancel. Okay, that's good to know. All right, my friend. Let me pull this off the build plate here.
Cool. I would love to stick around, but I need to go make dinner for the family. As it's help make dinner for the family. It's only 5:30 for me, so I will
brother.
check back in, see if you guys are still at it a little bit later. Good luck, dude.
All right, thanks.
See ya.
All right, so my shift was on the Y, not X.
Yeah.
So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to this screen here. We're going to change my camera to this one. Okay, so let me move this back up a little bit. All right, here's the front.
Perfect.
See, here is my shift.
So if you go onto the residence compensation page, actually it's kind of funny. You used like the same color he did for his photos.
Oh,
yeah.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Yes, and do you see how he put those two vertical lines with a Sharpie?
Yes.
So you want to find just wherever the ringing is most pronounced, and you want to put those two lines and then count how many artifacts, I guess we'll call them, there are from the first line to the second line.
Okay. I'm not fully tracking that. Sorry.
So if you look at his picture, so he marked the one on the left, and then if you count those, so he has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, or 6. He has 6 right there. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
And then why did he start at the second ring and not the first ring?
That's what I'm not sure about. Just kind of always did it how he did it. So
okay, so if I skip the first one there and I do this one here, so the edge of it, I mean, it goes away, like literally it goes the entire bit here.
And that's what we want. This test print is made to show ringing. Like it's a very stressful.
We were kicking it. This was we were probably at 5,500, I'd say, and that's where we started to skip.
Yep.
Okay, so if we're gonna go from right here, and then go all the way to where? How far out should I go? Because literally, like I said, it goes the whole way.
I would do 6 then. So count 6, then mark it.
4, 5, 6, and to the very edge of or it's the center of it. Center.
So yeah, you just want to be consistent with where you're putting your marks.
There. Okay. So I've got the 2 marks. Let's get out the calibers. And if we measure from that point to that point, I'm getting 20.32.
Okay. So I usually just write that on the print on the side that you measured.
Okay.
So you have it.
1 second. Let me get Because this pen I'm using bleeds like hell. Let me get a little piece of gaffers. I'm gonna call this. Where's the pen go? There it is. 20.32. All right. Now where are we at?
Okay, and then you want to do the same thing on the other side of the print.
Okay.
So you're gonna have one value for X and one value for Y.
Oh, okay. And you want me to go 6 rings as well?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you can do the exact if it's ringing all down the whole entire side, you can do the same thing. Yep.
Yeah. So from here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And I would call that 18.36.
Yep. And so in order to tell which side is X and which side is Y, that's why there's the X and the Y on the back of the print. Because it's kind of
I didn't even notice that.
yeah, so you have an X and a Y, but you'll notice that like if you would have looked at it when it was on the bed, the X side is like when the Y bed moves.
Yes.
And then because it's trying to cancel out each one of because your X ringing shows up on your Y axes of your prints and the Y shows on the X.
Yeah, because it was sitting like this, and this is X, but yet it says Y on the back of it.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Okay. We have values.
Okay. And then so if you look on step 11, you see V times N divided by D.
Yeah.
So that'll be velocity, which was 90 millimeters a second for us.
Okay. So 90
times 6, because you measured 6 oscillations. Okay. And then divided by that distance you measured from the calipers.
All right. So we're going to do divide it by 20.32, and I get 26.57.
So that means your ringing, or the frequency of your ringing is 26.57 hertz.
Okay.
And was that on the X or was that on the Y axis?
That was on the front.
Okay, so that's your Y ringing. So that makes kind of sense. It's a little low, but it'll still work.
Now, question: does this change if you change the tension on the belts?
Yes.
Okay.
And that's so it's I know we're doing this like right after you got Klipper tuned, but normally in my build process of a printer, I get the printer built, I get some test prints on it, I get pressure advanced tuned, and then input shapers the last thing I do when I know that I'm not going to touch the printer again.
Well, this is still a good learning point because
yeah. Mm-hmm. Well, now you know how to do it. Yeah. Now you know how to do it in the future, and it's really easy to do after your first time.
So 90 times 6, we're getting 540, and we're going to divide that by 18.36. That is 29.41.
Okay, now we can throw those into Klipper. So the rule of thumb with and input shaper is really good with figuring out if there's something wrong with your printer too, like mechanically wise.
Mm-hmm.
So the rule of thumb is if your ringing frequency is around 20 to 25 hertz, that means either your belts are too loose or you have a loose frame. Your frame's not like rigid enough, something like that.
Okay.
So if you scroll down a bit
I would say my belts are not like insanely tensioned on this machine.
Yeah, and when you tension them, chances are your input shaper ringing frequency will go up a bit.
Okay.
So
Because I personally very much dislike the whole Prusa thing where you should like strum it with a guitar tuner. I think that is ridiculous. I think that is way too tight for belts, in my personal opinion, because that stretches them out, especially when you're using cheap belts, which I obviously am. I'm using Anet belts.
Yeah, plus you can't do that on like a Core XY. Core XY,
Right.
it's pretty much you just tension them and you'll find out eventually if it's good or not.
Yeah.
So
okay, how do we put this in now? Is that in here somewhere? Import shaper configuration. Here we go.
So you just take those 3 lines and you copy and paste them. And then your shaper frequency X, you just put like 29 point whatever it is, and then frequency Y, you put the same thing.
And so X is on the side on this, right?
On
the side is labeled X.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's going to be.
Yep.
29.41. Y is 26.57. And that's it.
And then it's got a bunch of other things. Like it's got, if you scroll down, you can see like you can fine tune the resonance. You can there's different shapers. So there's 6 different shapers you can use.
Oh, wow.
But it's better to just start off and see if all the default stuff works, because in most cases it does work, before you go in and start changing and tuning all the advanced stuff.
Yeah, because so on now, just an observation. So as I'm looking at the little ripple that this one's talking about, this one's talking about the Max Excel on the tight part there. Once I got up to 1, 2, 3, the 4th iteration, I did have a space there then. The other ones are kind of fused.
Do you have pressure advance enabled? Let me see.
Well, no, we told it to do 0.
Oh yeah, we disabled
but
it.
It's also not in here. It's not even in my config.
Where's my input shaper tests? So it fused towards the top?
No, the bottom was fused. So the first 3 iterations are nearly fused. Here, let me pull it up here for you. Hang on. Let's switch my camera again. So on Y, focus. See those bottom ones are kind of fused, and up here you can see the gap. And then on X, it's exactly the opposite. It's fine at the first 2, and then fused the rest of the way up.
Interesting.
I mean, it's not completely fused. It's just really, really tight, but it's definitely better down here at 1 and 2. You can see the gap there.
Yeah.
And then here on
I wouldn't be too worried about it right now. So
yeah, again, curious observation, because I don't know.
Yeah, now that is important later on, because so one of the downsides with input shaper is that if you try to enforce input shaper too much, like there's some very there's some shapers that do a lot of vibration reduction, but the downfall is that higher accels or higher speeds, it can actually smooth your prints too much, so you lose like if you're printing like a bare X end and you're running input shaper, things may not fit as well as they did without input shaper. So
okay.
But you won't be running at speeds high enough for the smoothing to really affect you, and you won't be running like if you scroll down like almost all the way to the end, you'll see a table. So those are all the different shapers, and you can see like the lower you go, the more vibration reduction it does.
Yeah.
And so like the 2 hump EI and the 3 hump EI, they're really good, but you have to be very careful that you don't run them at speeds to where, because you'll run that input shaper test that we just printed, and that gap that you're seeing that was fused, it'll be fused everywhere because it's smoothed too much.
I got you now. Okay.
Yeah. So
All right, so I think we can leave that at that for now. Now I would like to check out pressure advance that you were talking about. So this is the same as linear advance, right?
Yeah, so if you click on that instructions hyperlink,
Yep.
it's just another tower that you print pretty much.
Okay.
And so there's a link.
Wait, before we get to this, sorry. Do I need to change my max Excel back?
Yes, I would change it back, but I would put it at like 4,000 now that you have input shaper. And we could run a little. Oh, the pressure advance tower won't really crank the Excel, but yeah. So I would set those to 4,000.
Okay. Core velocities, keep it at 5.
Yeah, that should be fine.
Okay.
And then yeah, so you can save that, and then if you want to tune pressure advance to see the pressure advance is the cool tune. I like looking at those when they're done.
Yeah, I mean, I figure. I mean, if you don't mind, I have you here, so because even if I don't get it fully, what's this? It doesn't like.
Oh, it may be the comments on the input shaper things.
No, it's on. It's not on that. It's saying on my filament. Because they're semicolons, not. I guess maybe they're too close. I'm just gonna pull it out. It doesn't like these.
Huh.
It could be a formatting thing because again, we found out last night that you have to have G-code tabbed over, otherwise it doesn't work.
Yeah.
It's very, very coding language with it because coding language.
Yeah, it's Jinja.
Oh yeah, you said that. Yeah, I said it last night. Jinja. Jinja sounds like a Pokemon.
And like Klipper's Python too. So if like I know somebody on the Prusa owner's GitHub, they wrote a but they wrote a Python script to be able to use the temperature compensation in the Pinda v2. They unlocked the thermistor in Klipper so that you can do temperature compensation during bed mesh. Oh, did you have? I think you have 2 unload filaments, maybe.
I don't know where it's at though. Oh, you're right here. So I'm gonna pull this one out then, because that was from the M600 that I had. What's that saying? That's yeah, we're gonna pull this one out because they're the same name, which is fine. So it'll still pull from this macro will still pull from that one, right?
Yes.
Yeah, for unload filament. So that's fine. Save and reset. It's cleaned off there. And I just want to go into here, and we're just going to set the bed temp now so it can heat back up. We don't have to wait for it so long. Okay, so pressure advance.
Okay, so you need to download that Square Tower STL.
Okay. We will delete that, pull that in. All right, there's that.
Okay, and then we just need to set up that the slicer. So you want to run so you can keep the speeds.
Okay. We're still doing vase mode?
Yes. No vase mode.
Okay.
So but 1 perimeter.
All that. Let's go back here to 0.2 and then 1 perimeter.
Yes, and then so your layer height is 75% of your nozzle.
Oh, okay.
So
that would be 0.3. Oh, no,
yeah,
0.4.
so yeah, 0.4 would work.
So 0.5. 0.375 is technically what it is.
Okay, it can be anywhere in between that. Your first layer height can stay.
I'll just do it a little bit thicker.
Okay, and then no top layers,
Okay.
and then no infill. So it's like a one wall cube, pretty much.
Okay. So fill that, and then we need.
And then your speed set all those to 90.
And what do I do for the acceleration?
Acceleration doesn't matter.
Oh, okay.
It automatically tunes it down to 500 anyway. So
Okay.
And then filament settings, just make sure auto cooling's off. It's off.
We didn't change that one.
And then you should be good to go.
So slice that, and that's what it looks like.
Yep, looks good.
All right, so now into here, we need to send this command.
Yep.
Okay.
And then so Klipper has 2 tuning towers because Bowden's going to have more pressure advance than a direct drive. So
Yeah.
you'll want the top one, but if you ever run it on a Bowden printer, you want to use the bottom one.
All right. Oh, I hate Bowden printers, so I will never build one. I shouldn't say that because I did. The Hypercube's Bowden, but everything I built after that has been direct drive.
And then you're ready to send the print.
Okay.
Yep.
Well, let's go back to the proof slicer.
And Klipper does everything for you pretty much. It just like Input Shaper, raise the acceleration the higher you got on the print.
Okay.
Klipper's going to raise the pressure advance the higher you get on the print.
Okay.
So
waiting for that then.
And then instead of measuring, like, you know how you measured the ringing, you'll use calipers and you'll look at the corner of the tower and you'll see where it looks the nicest in your opinion. And then you just measure from the bottom of the print to the top or to where you think it looks nice and then plug it into another formula.
Okay, yeah. So it's the pressure advance equals start plus measured height times factor.
Yep. So your start is if you already have a pressure advance value set in your config.
0.
And then and then it's measured height times that 0.005. So you know how I was telling you how there's a direct drive variant versus Bowden?
That's what that means. Okay.
Yep. It's pretty much just how it scales the tuning tower.
Okay.
So on like that Prusa extruder with PLA, you should see like you'll probably be around the 0.04. Your pressure advance will probably be 0.03, 0.04, somewhere around that.
Okay. Just gonna get a new battery for the calipers because it's getting a little hard to see. LR44? No, this is different. Oh, that's it.
Greg, that interface is fluid. So it's pretty much same thing as mainsail, just different colors and different features. Not really different features either.
Oh, yeah, that's what he was saying. Yeah, okay. Yeah, which again, I do like the level of control here. I also like the transparency of the print because again, you print in Marlin and you're like, oh, I set my print to 150 millimeters a second. You ain't printing at that at all.
Mm-hmm.
Because also, you have zero way to verify that in Marlin. But with this and with Duet, they both have that live on it. Now, this one only shows requested speed, but Duet shows requested speed and actual speed.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, actual speed on Fluid is a requested feature that we have, and for whatever reason, it hasn't been figured out yet, but it's in the works.
Okay.
Cadriel, the Fluid developer, he's really active on a bunch of different Discords, and he has
Oh,
his
okay.
own Discord too. So he's been
I
working
might
with
need
the
to
community,
send me an invite
figuring
to that.
out what people want on Fluid. And so that's the next big thing is um, the next big thing is to figure out how to flash Klipper onto a board without leaving the Fluid UI, which that's
Okay.
kind of tough, but it could be possible in the future. But it's quite a big challenge.
Adam is saying just updated Fluid on his 2.4. Lots of changes. Yeah, the updater, I do like that on the side here because I have
Mm-hmm.
2 packages for the OS. I just updated this last night. So it's, I mean, there are updates daily, it seems like, for Clipper right now. And it
Yeah.
also, I guess I should put this out there. It's very, what's the word? I mean, it's still kind of beta, it feels. Like this is not Marlin. Like Marlin is tried and true, tested, many iterations of it. This feels a little more niche. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Like you could say like Marlin's kind of like Windows, where like anybody
Yeah,
can hop onto it and figure it out and use it. Duet's like Mac OS, it's the more expensive version, and you're kind of stuck in their ecosystem. And then
yeah,
Clipper's Linux, to
yeah.
where whatever you want to do, you can do it to your heart's desire. Like
You just
you
have
could
to know
run
how.
20 MCUs if you wanted.
Yeah,
Um,
but you just have to know how to do it.
yeah. So it is a little beta, and like, I mean, because of everybody being home, like, and everybody building like Voron specifically, because they're like one of the only like printer communities that like use Clipper pretty much dominantly.
Yeah,
Um, there's been a lot going on with Clipper, and like there's a lot of new stuff coming, and it's just been developed so much in the past year to where um, like it was never like this last January. If you compared this Clipper to last January's Clipper, you'd be like, why am I even running Clipper?
okay.
So
Yeah, yeah, Mike. Again, I didn't mean actual beta. It just, again, it's that feeling of non-completeness. You
yeah.
know, I know it is a complete package. It really is. But again, that the Kennedy's much hit the nail on the head where you have Windows, Mac, and Linux. This definitely is more feeling because in Linux, not many people can just sit down and get to town on it because there's a lot of
Hmm.
commands you still need to run in it. I mean, I ran Ubuntu and I've run a bunch of other when I was in college and I was doing hacking. We did everything on Linux then, but I haven't used that in 13, 14 years now since I've been out of school. So for me, that was back in the day. But that's just how it feels. Again, using Marlin, everything's in front of you. You can control F, find anything in there, and just go to town with it. So it's just the feeling of someone who is literally brand new to it. This is day 3, maybe day 4 that I've been running Clipper on this machine. I running is a very loose term as well because obviously it only printed last night.
Yeah. So it's definitely a customizer's dream, but if you just want a printer to just print and not have to worry about stuff not being there that other people have with running Marlin, then just run Marlin. Like if you have a 32-bit board and it's a decent board, chances are you're never going to hit the speeds that you'll need to hit in order to actually want to or have to go to Clipper unless you run a Delta. Delta runs insanely. Like it's so much better on Klipper than on Marlin.
Saying that for a long time though with deltas. Like I've been hearing that for well
Yeah.
over
Well,
probably 2 years.
I'm pretty sure that's the reason why Klipper was built. It was for Delta printers at the beginning. And then like people finally put Cartesian in, Core XY, Core XZ. There's some crazy ones out there too. Like it's like deltas with like geared arms. Like they have some crazy kinematic systems that you can run with Klipper. But I know I wanted to run Marlin on my switch wire. The only reason why I couldn't is because Core XZ is bugged in Marlin. If you do the baby stepping of Z, it moves it into the X direction for whatever reason, and they haven't fixed it yet. So
I keep forgetting we have this set to 90 millimeters a second because I'm watching this thing going like, good God, that's fast. I have not gone that fast on this printer yet, except for these tests. I mean, you saw, my max speed was set to like, I think 65. Like,
yes, I just printed, let me turn my light on. I just printed this Dragon. I was running 4,000 acceleration, 80 millimeters a second perimeters, and like 200 infill. And why did my light go out? There we go. And it looks pretty good. There's no ringing in the wings. Everything's smooth to the touch. And this is Hatchbox PLA.
Oh, nice. How fast?
So it was 80 millimeters a second inner perimeters, 60 millimeters a second outer perimeters, 150 millimeters a second infill, all at 4K acceleration.
That's pretty good.
Yeah, I'll take it for a bed flinger.
Yeah. All right, so we are flipping along now. Dun. It just finished the tabs. Now it's doing the first layer on top of the tabs.
Yeah, once it gets to the one walls, it should go pretty quick. And it's just like input shaper. If you see it starting to fail at the end, it shouldn't really fail. It's going to look really weird, though, once you get up to the top. You can stop it whenever, or you can stop it whenever you think it looks the best. It's up to you.
And do I need to worry about the orientation of it, or it doesn't matter?
Nope, doesn't matter. Okay. So there will be one corner. You may want to take note of where it's starting and stopping the new layers, which corner that is, because you don't want to use that corner when you're actually calculating the pressure advance.
All right, well, it looks like this front left corner is where it's starting at.
Yeah, so you won't want to use that corner when actually doing the measurements, because that corner is just going to look like garbage no matter what, because of
retraction.
Yeah, because of the retractions.
Okay. Yeah, I definitely think that later this year, I was talking about it earlier, but I definitely think maybe later this year, once I move, Volron might be in the mix to do. Maybe pick up one of the starter kits, like I did the BLV, pick up a kit to get started with it and then build from there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they're good printers. I mean, they're good ABS machines. If you want to print PLA, it does take some after, like, non-bill of materials parts. So on my switch wire, in order to get that to print PLA, there's a user mod that's a more optimized duct for PLA, and it runs a 50-15 on the top instead of a 40-20, which that's not a big deal.
I've heard that is one of the main issues with the Volron afterburner extruder is the cooling for PLA is subpar.
Yeah, but ever since switching to that duct, it's been no issue. Okay. Like I have. Let me actually look. Yeah, like here's a benchy that I did at like the Prusa 0.2 speed settings, and the hole looks, there's no like overheating.
Yeah, there's nothing there.
Yeah, so it works fine, and that's at 85% fan. That's not even at 100%
Oh wow, okay.
cooling fan.
Duty of Cheston, thank you, buddy. Appreciate that. But yeah, I definitely think I'll be able to, because again, man, people have been using the AliExpress affiliate like mad, which is fantastic because that's how I got like the BLV and the Prusa Mini clones and stuff like that. Man, people keep using those links. I can buy all the things and really start to test things out. So I am thinking that I should be able to get one once I move. I don't think I'll ever do a switch wire, maybe, but I'm not too sure yet.
I would honestly, if I were to start again, I probably would have rather just saved up and went like a 1.8. See, the problem is I already had that hypercube that I built like a couple months ago, but I'm selling that now, and I'll probably take that money and I'll put it towards. I'm gonna go 2.4 just because I'm an engineer, so I just want to see the engineering of a belted Z, and I don't mind all the moving parts, but like a 1.8 prints just as well as a 2.4. Now the 2.4 can go faster because since the gantry moves on the Z, you have a lower center of gravity, so the printer doesn't shake as much.
Yeah,
when you're at the lower layers.
Like with that, yeah.
Yeah. So, but like when I say speed decrease, I'm talking like you have to run 10 millimeters a second less, or instead of running 7,000 acceleration, you have to run 5,500 acceleration. It's minimal.
Yeah, and I'm also debating on converting this hypercube into the Legacy.
Oh yeah, that's a good one.
I do want to, because I also, when I built it, I realized this honestly just a few months ago. I built it wrong way. It's supposed to be rotated 90 degrees.
Oh.
I never realized that during the entire build process that I actually built it the wrong way. So
that's funny.
Which I will correct once I do it, because I have a ton of room on my Y, but X doesn't reach the whole 200 mil bed. I only get like 180 of it.
Oh, and if you rotated it, it probably would get it.
I would get the full 200 by 200.
Oh, that's funny.
I mean, you live and you learn. I mean, this was the first custom printer I ever built. Custom, you know what I mean? Like not a printer that I got out of the box. Like I bought every single piece of that, cut my own extrusion for that. Like I built that myself, obviously using someone's design.
Yeah, I remember watching the build log videos of those.
Yeah,
of that one.
I also had a lot more time. I only had 3 kids back then, so it was a lot easier back then to record these insanely long videos. I had hours of content for each one of those, like 20 to 30-minute videos. I mean, probably 8 hours of content that I shrunk down into that. That was a lot. But yeah, when I built these current ones, I did not have the time to do all that right now. That's just too much work. So I just doing all the build live, and people seem to be liking it. You know?
Yeah, it's a nice place to just come hang out.
All right, I am now starting to see under extrusion.
Oh, gaps on the corners?
Yeah.
Yeah, so if you want, you can cancel it here and measure.
You think it's only going to get worse going up?
Oh yeah, it's definitely going to get worse.
Okay, then we're
so you could cancel it right there if you want.
So we're going to do this. Let's listen to what you said. So we're going to go to pause. That's what I want. And then cancel. That's what I wanted. Okay. I just need to remember. It's an order of operations thing I need to remember. And then let's turn motors off. Okay. Yeah. Well, it honestly did not take too long for that to start. Holy crap, that back looks horrendous. But yeah, I can definitely see where. All right, let me bring this. Let's go to here. Let's go change the camera. Okay. So this is the front of the print.
Yep. So is on the right? Is that the front right from when it printed?
This is the front left where it printed. This is front
Okay.
right.
Yep, that's kind of to be
Look
expected.
at the back.
Oh, that's not good. It's not supposed to look like that.
Back of the print.
Huh.
The front and sides are fine, but that back was like, woo. Maybe I didn't have it hot enough for how fast we were going. It was at 215.
Maybe.
These are big layer heights. Like I don't print this big of a layer.
Yeah, this is pretty big.
This is 0.37 extrusion height.
Yeah,
Well,
so
I mean
that may have been a little too fast.
Should we try?
Especially with that's silk filament, right?
Yes.
So yeah, silk tends to overheat a little bit quicker than other filaments.
So should we retry it at a different temperature, or what do you think?
I would.
I'm sorry, different temperature, speed.
I would maybe up the temp. Like what temp was that at?
215.
Oh, that should be fine. Yeah, so maybe lower the speeds a bit. You could probably get away with like 60 millimeters a second.
Let's go here. I mean, we are kind of pushing this machine. So 60 all across it.
Yep.
Okay. So slice and dice. And then do I need to resend that command again?
Yeah, so what I would do is I would just to make sure that everything's good, I would restart Klipper on the printer.
Okay.
Just send a restart command and then put the velocity command that was on the pressure advance page and then the tuning tower command.
Okay, so scroll back up here. Velocity, copy that. Get this to come back up. There we are. So set that. Then 0.005. Paste that in. Shablam. And then we can start the print. There it is. Okay. Sometimes it takes a second to get there. Sometimes it's faster. I mean, it's also not far. Like the printer's here, the router's right there. Like, I'm not going too far here. But okay, well that is set. I'm going to load the bear real quick because I need to print out the new filament flag for this extruder.
The one with the longer flag.
Yeah.
Yeah, Mike. You're supposed to just keep all your settings the same. Whatever settings that like retraction you would use for a normal print, you use on the pressure advance print.
Yeah, the only thing we changed here was speeds.
Yeah, so you want to have your speeds to a little bit higher than you would normally print like perimeters at. So like I always do like 100 with the 0.4 nozzle because if you do 100, then like at least on all my printers, I'm never going to print perimeters more than 100 millimeters a second. So you may want to, if you don't see a difference between the whole print, then you probably need to make sure that your tuning tower command went through, or also you can also change the scale at the end of the command. So like if you're on a direct drive and it doesn't if you don't see a difference with the 0.005 scale, then try the 0.02 scale and see if that makes a difference.
I need filament.
So if you're Bowden, you may need to, depending on how long your Bowden run is, you may need to increase the scale even more. So like maybe do like 0.03. But if but the goal is with Bowden is you don't want to go over one pressure advance. If you have to go over one pressure advance, you either need to figure out how to lower or shorten your Bowden tube between your extruder and your hot end, or you need to there's a tuning issue, like you may be over extruding a lot more than you think, and so you need to either tune your millimeters per step more or your extrusion multiplier. Pressure advance is like this weird thing because I know like a month and a half ago, like I was a huge advocate for like pressure advance everything. You first thing I do is tune pressure advance, but ever since I've been getting into more like tuning for like printing other people printer parts and maybe trying to do in the future Voron printed forward, um, and learning from tuning from other people, like pressure advance is like the last thing I tune now, because by tuning like extrusion multiplier and speeds and like especially in super slicer, you can tune like top flow, bottom flow, perimeter flow, changing the extrusion widths on your perimeters. Like I went from having like 0.7 pressure advance on my V0 to having like 0.1 pressure advance.
Oh wow.
And everything else was just tuned in the slicer. So I mean, pressure advance is a lot easier to do than sitting at your printer printing like test prints for like 5 days straight like I did. But
Okay, let's see. That should have loaded. Yep. Continue. I do need to fix that on the Bear. It extrudes way too much when it loads filament. But I'm using Chris Wakaki's settings on that.
is that the SKR Bear?
Yeah. Which I really like it. I mean, it works really well. I can't complain with that. There's a few things in it that I would like to change a bit. But again, so see, this is where I'm at because again, I'm starting to like the easeability of managing multiple printers. That's always my big thing is how am I going to manage all these printers? So that that did not change.
Yeah, I've been thinking about getting rid of the INC board in my Prusa and going SKR. Not 1.4, but they have like a Big Tree Tech has, I think, a board. It's like the BTT-2 or something that is like it has the same form factor as the INC, the same connectors. It's like a clone. It's like a clone INC, but it's an SKR.
And they also call it. It's called the not DIN. but it has removable drivers.
Yeah. I was thinking about throwing one of those in, because I don't know. I'm just not a big fan of 2130s and the
Well, you're also
drawbacks.
you like to tune all the things.
Yeah, kind of. Like, so one of my buddies, he has Marlin 2 running on Eincy. So that's what he uses, but I think if I was going to run Marlin 2, then I would want to take advantage of the Marlin 2 features that really only 32-bit can handle for most things.
Yeah. But I guess that's also the one thing for me is that I like leaving my Prusa a Prusa because I don't want to work with that. Like that, I can tinker with everything else in this shop. I really don't mind it, but I do not want to tinker with that because that is the tried and true machine that just works.
Yep, same for me. And that's the thing that's holding me back. Like, the Prusa's become my palette machine. And
That's my palette as well.
for how finicky the palette can be sometimes with like pings and pongs, I do not want to touch anything on that printer to mess anything up. Because like I tried putting like a pulley box for an extruder, and it just destroyed my pings and pongs on whenever I tried to do a palette print.
I run off of the what's it called? What's that called? Rep box.
Yeah, I still use the palette, the one that comes with the palette.
Yeah, so there's the rep box that feeds down into the palette right here, and then runs into the Mark III's. And for me, that's been perfect. I mean,
I loved my palette.
I had issues when I first got the machine, but that's because it was running an older firmware. And then I asked them for the Go Burr firmware, and they gave me that one so that I can create my own spools way faster. Like I can load 4 samples in there, and it spits it out so freaking fast.
So do you like spool your own filament?
Yeah.
Oh.
So I've been doing because I've been doing MakerBox forever, and I have literally hundreds of samples laying around that I print my Maker coin with all the Maker boxes.
Yep.
And then I have that sample left over. And then I was like, well, I want to be able to make my own filament. And I saw somebody post about it, and but they said they had to get a different firmware. So I reached out to Mosaic and I said, hey, like I saw this guy doing this, and I'm having issues. Can you help me out here? And they said, yeah, do this, this, and this, and you'll be good to go. So this version is a custom firmware that you have to ask them for, but it's custom in the sense of when you select certain modes, it goes faster.
Okay.
And it's really for that multi-join setting on there. I did the video on it, and that makes it go out much faster. I mean, it probably goes at, I don't know, 80 to 100 millimeters a second once it does the join, because the join is very slow, and then it kind of gets that out, and then all of a sudden it's like, and here you go.
Yeah, Ryan, the palette is more expensive than like a MMU, but like on the Prusa Discord that I am mainly on most of the time, there's people who bought an MMU the same time I bought my palette, and their MMU still isn't working, and they haven't gotten it to work consistent. So it's really like, do you really need, or do you have the time to put the work into modding the MMU a little bit, maybe printing another buffer, and if you have that time, then the MMU 2 is like, it's great once you get it going and you finally get it tuned. Plus it does 5 instead of 4 colors, so you get that little added bonus. But like if you just want something to work most of the time, once you print like a couple calibration prints and get pretty much print like 2 Like I print the palette keychain and then the earbud case. And by the time I print those, then I have enough pings to where I can print whatever I want. Plus, if you want to run like on Duet or you want to run Klipper, then Palette's really your only option. You can't like Klipper has somebody has gotten the MMU2 to work on Klipper, but it's not the best and it's a pain to set up.
It's a bit hacky.
Yeah, it's just a bunch of macros pretty much.
Because printing on the palette, I mean, is doggone perfect.
Yeah,
like
they come out great.
Again, once I changed the firmware to the newer one, I've not had a failed print with the palette in I can't tell you how long. Because also all the parts on here, so all the multicolored parts, so the power supply, the logo, this part, the door to the board. I modified all of these, so I just put a backing on it. But I just did a 1mm extrude as a new body in order to have the dual color and print it with a palette. I've not had a single failure with the machine. Now, granted, I'm not doing 4 and 5 day long multicolored prints because ain't nobody got time for that. But for all of my prints, which take up to, I'd say, a day, I have 0 issues with it.
Yeah, I've had a couple 2 or 3 day prints fail on the palette, but it was either because I didn't have my splice, I didn't take the time to tune my splice values for a certain like spool that was really finicky. Like it was some Jesse PLA that the tolerance were way out of spec of what you're supposed to run on a palette. So that was kind of my fault. And then like the other thing that happened was that I had one splice break once, and it was because it was splicing a piece of silk filament, which is really hard to tune on a palette, to a piece of protopasta glitter filament, which that's not a bad that's just a bad combo to do.
Now, I will say that PLA, I will get broken splices with white. So I try not to print with white when I do multicolor because I will have issues with that. But with PETG, it is an absolute rock star. And all of the parts on here are all printed with PETG, all Ziltech PETG. And it has 0 issues with that. But PLA can be an issue. And that's even true in the Mosaic Facebook group and everything, because you really have to get it to be just perfect.
Yeah, it's really just like they both have their issues. It's pretty much just which issues would you rather deal with. Plus, like if you run an MMU, then you're pretty much stuck with using the E3D V6. Like. And the Prusa heat break, because you need that special heat break. Now, I know people who've gotten it to work on a dragon, a V1 dragon, but it's hit or miss for people. Like for every person we have that has a dragon that has it working, there's somebody who doesn't have it working, and it's not getting good enough tips with the dragon. So, there's just a lot of variability in everything. And with the palette, as long as I buy quality filament for the most part, and I make sure that the tolerances aren't just way over tolerance for what like is typical for a spool, then my prints usually come out fine.
So you've had some variance issues with Jesse PLA?
Yeah. I don't know if it's just, I don't know. It prints different than the rest of my PLA, because I mostly use Filament One PLA because I have their Profi box.
See, that's funny because Brandon has the worst luck with Filament One. He says he can never get it to print well ever.
Oh, I love Filament One PLA. That's my favorite.
You were both literally the opposite spectrum.
Yeah, but like Jesse, I had this weird issue with their pink, like their bright pink. where it smelled just like straight rotten eggs when it printed. It
Oh,
was the
wow.
worst smell ever, and it's apparently just because of the pink dye that they use.
Yeah.
So,
Adam, yes, I did get the dragon. I have not used it yet. I haven't decided what. I also bought the 2 mosquitoes, the mellow mosquitoes, which I have not used either of those yet. I'm not sure what I will use those on, but I bought them because they were cheap and I want to try them one day. I don't think it's going to happen before May when I move, but at some point I will play with them and try them out.
so one thing with the dragon is if you're planning on using the groove mount adapter for it, make sure the screws that are connecting the groove mount adapter to the dragon are either ridiculously tight or throw some like blue thread locker on them, because they will wiggle out over time.
Timer mine's at in here somewhere. Here it is. So this one has the groove mount already mounted to it. This is the Triangle Labs one.
Yeah, so like I don't thread lock mine with like blue Loctite, but before I install it, I always just give it a good crank on those bolts.
It's those 2 down in there.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Because we've had a few people install the Dragon in their Prusas, and it'll fall off the groove mount mid print and just drag on the bed because the screws loosened because they're not tight enough from the factory.
Oh, okay. Well, that is good to know. But yeah,
knock on wood, mine hasn't fallen out yet, and it's been in there for a year. This
is the Magnum one.
The high flow, yeah, that's a good one.
High flow, that's what I meant. Yeah. And then I bought both a standard mosquito clone and the mellow one, and I bought their Magnum one as well. Because I debated on potentially maybe putting one on the BLV, but I didn't. And this print did not stick too well. That's cool. That's cool. Let's try that again, guys. Might need to lower the Z a smidge for that one. It's a very, very tiny print. Actually, I'm going to throw just a smidge of glue stick on there because this tiny print. Now, you were saying before, I wanted to mention it because we got a little off track, about speed of the pallet and things like that. And I have to say, for expecting a piece of equipment to run for like 3 and 4 days completely issue free, I think honestly is unrealistic.
It depends.
But equipment that's only existed for how many years now? Like, it's not a car. Like, we expect cars for years now. When you bought cars 100 years ago, you expected it to last, I don't know, maybe driving it off from where you bought it from.
Yeah.
I mean, like, I think that's the realism of it is nowadays with 3D printers, you can buy a $180 3D printer and it works pretty damn well.
Yeah.
You know, it's not like it was 10 years ago. But I think between the MMU and the palette, I think more things will come that are not like all those Y splitters and all that craziness. But other machines will come. But I think it's going to take 5 years to get there to where we can say, yeah, this can go for days and not have an issue.
I think if we talk about a palette and a Prusa combo, I think 3 days of or 2 to 3 day prints is reasonable to expect. Now, would I trust it on an Ender 3?
No.
Probably not. I wouldn't throw a pallet on an Ender 3. Like,
I debated it, but I
Like
didn't do it.
if you want a palette, like if you really need the multicolor and all you have is an Ender 3, then okay. But like you got to make sure that Ender 3 is super well tuned. And the palette needs a well-tuned printer to perform well. You're not going to go buy a
Mark III.
what?
Which is probably why it works so well on the Mark III.
Yeah, that's why I run it on my Prussias, because the Prussia's tuned so well out of the box. Like, and have you used P2PP yet?
No, I've been debating it, but that's just a rabbit hole that I've not gone down yet.
I mean, if you're fine with Canvas, then there's no real, and you have it all set up, there's no real reason to switch.
I
mean,
have 0 issues with Canvas.
yeah,
I've never had a print go wonky on me or have random lines. Like I see that every single day in the Facebook group. I'm like, you're not tuned. Like take a day and just tune.
yeah. So I started with P2PP from the start because the group that helped me set up my palette, that's what they were on. It's nice, but it's kind of finicky sometimes. But yeah, like we like in my palette group, we have people that there's at least somebody doing like a 2 to 3 day print on one of their palettes without fail. Like, and you do get the occasional fail. But if we had somebody who had a string of fails, talking to Mosaic, it was usually either a bad splice value or like now we've had a lot of faulty palettes. It's still an early piece of tech. Like I wouldn't like the thing I don't like about the palette also is how long it takes to like splice. Do you have a 2S or a 2S Pro?
2S Pro.
Okay, so I have a regular 2S. And I was looking at getting a Pro, but then we've had people in our group like there's one guy, he bought a 2S Pro. He could not get a single print off of that thing. For whatever reason, the splice core or the main board or something was wrong. So like he actually just called up Mosaic and he's like, yeah, I know I paid for a 2S Pro, but just give me the 2S. So now he's back onto a 2S because he couldn't get the Pro to work at all. And splice tubes, that's another thing that sucks about the palette. It's you have to replace those every once in a while. They say like it lasts like 3,000 splices or something like that.
There was someone that just said that they were up to 12,000 splices on their 2S Pro and had not replaced it yet.
So the numbers is it's 5,000. That's when they really recommend you to replace them. But people have been getting like 10 or 12,000. It really depends on like the quality of filament you use. Like if you're using junky filament, you probably have to replace it at 5,000. But if you're using a little bit more quality filament that has like 0.02 or 0.03 tolerances, you could probably get away with getting 10,000 splices on a single tube. So did that corner come out better?
Oh, the whole thing came out better.
Oh, good.
But I'm thinking 11.13 looks pretty good. Yeah.
So that would put you at a pressure advance of 0.056.
Is that good?
Yeah, I'd say that's around direct drive level. So
acceptable.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so let's go back. I'm going to pull the screen up so people can see this. And we're going to go back to here. And where's the...
I don't think it shows it in there. You're just going to have to go to your config and add it manually. And it's just pressure _ advance.
All right. So
you go to your extruder. So you need to go to your extruder section.
Okay.
and then just add it under there.
Pressure underscore what?
Advance.
And what did you say the value was?
It is 0.056.
Okay.
And there you go. You're pretty much done with pressure advance. Like, you could fine tune it a little here and there, but usually it's good.
Save and reset. Cool. So I do kind of want to, again, I think I'm going to go ahead and, while I have the film loaded, probably end here shortly. I'm going to go ahead and do the E-steps again, just to verify that it's still the same with the calculation of changing it for Klipper. Because obviously, again, it's the 1 over the steps to make it happen. So I just want to make sure that it was still the same. And then, because that's actually the one thing I guess I don't know how to tune that then on here.
It's the same thing. So you extrude 100 millimeters of filament. You measure. Here, I'll actually give you. Let me find.
Because if I'm not doing E-steps, if I don't know what my E-steps is to what it's supposed to be, then it's kind of.
Yeah. So I'll DM you on Discord
Thank you. Yeah, because
the
I'll need
website that I use. And so it because it's the same way as you would do it on any printer. You extrude 100 millimeters of filament, and you measure how much actually extruded, and then you do like percent error. But because Klipper uses millimeters a step, it always just looks weird because you're not used to having like decimals to the 10,000th.
Yeah. Adam's just saying it's 100 divided by measured times the current value.
Yep.
Okay, so I'll have to remember that. But yeah, I want to just double check that, and then I might go ahead and do the resonance thing here again, the input shaper, and see if that changes at all. So there's the one question: does it matter what order you do these in?
Yes. So
obviously tuning E-steps and extrusion multiplier is pretty high up on the list straight out of the box.
Yeah,
like
so I do E-steps first, then I do extrusion multiplier, and then I do pressure advance. So I do those 3 first, and then that's when I tune my slicer profile. I'll tune my slicer profile, get those all set up. Once that's done, then input shaper, tune that, and then you have to do pressure advance again, because what input shaper does is it adds like tiny little movements. Like, you can't see the movements, but it adds them to decrease the ringing, and so it messes with pressure advance a little. So you have to go back and you have to redo pressure advance.
Okay, Adam was saying input shaper and then pressure advance.
Yeah, you always want to do pressure advance after input shaper.
Okay.
And then that's where the accelerometer comes into play with input shaper, because instead of running that test every time you like tweak a belt, see on my switch wire, when I get that set up, I'm going to have magnets on the front where I just plug in the accelerometer, and it's going to sit like right in front of my hot end fan. And then Klipper just runs a little script that vibrates your extruder like really fast, and then you put the accelerometer on the bed, and then it vibrates the bed, and then it tells you, oh, here's your ringing frequencies, and it pops out a little graph for you in less than 5 minutes. Wow. So yeah,
I guess if I do that on more than just this one printer, that would probably be a good. thing to learn.
Yes. So what people do is they get like an Arduino Micro, like the flash drive looking Arduinos
Yeah.
that are really long and skinny. And so they actually wire up the accelerometer to that Arduino so that instead of having to use the GPIO pins on the Pi to plug in the accelerometer, you just plug in a USB cable to the Pi. And then the Arduino is just made for input shaper pretty much.
Yeah, I guess the one issue is I'd have to use that other hat that I have, because zeros only have one USB port. I do have, it's buried in my stuff, but I have that one where it plugs in with some pogo pins to the 0W, and it gives you 4 more USB ports.
Yeah, this is the one I use.
Okay.
And but on my but I wire instead of plugging in this USB to the SKR Mini, I use the Pi GPIO and go from the GPIO to the SKR Mini serial connection.
Okay.
So that I don't have to run a buck converter, because the V0, like if you look on the bottom, there's no room for anything.
Yeah, I mean, let me look at that here. Yeah, there's not much space in there.
Yeah, once you put the wires in, like even like you look at this terminal right here.
Yeah.
I'm running an integrated lead screw, which is still kind of in beta. It's not really released to the public yet, but still it's a tight squeeze for everything. Like and a lot of people have been fixing that. A lot of people now run the Prusa Mini power supply. So they buy the Prusa Mini PSU, and then they just have like a port on the side right here that it plugs into.
Yeah.
So I've been thinking about actually going that route, because my bed is a 120 volt bed. And so I may go 24 volt. I don't know yet.
You probably could just get even a standard, like not even have to go with the Prusa Mini Meanwell one, because the Prusa Mini Meanwell one is high amperage because it can do the bed as well.
Yeah, like so this power supply is it's 100 watt. Meanwell, if you want to run a 24 volt bed, you need 150 watt or 160 watt. So you could just run a power supply on the side if you wanted to.
Yeah.
I wanted mine to be like, I literally just grab it like this and go.
Yeah.
And so I wanted everything in here, so where I just plug in a power cable and go. So that's why I opted for the non-brick power supply. But
well, that's what I did when I designed Master Crane. I wanted that to be a pick it up with one hand and set it down somewhere, and that's all you need to do is plug power in and it works, and it does. And again, it is $100 and some printer, but it does work like that. So
yeah, and how I get around having to be connected to the Pi is that I have the wireless chip on the Raspberry Pi set to like a hotspot kind of.
Okay.
So that I pull out my laptop, and then the Wi-Fi chip has a static IP, and my laptop, I just have to set it to a static IP, and then I can communicate it without the internet. Like that's how I print on all my printers right now, because campus internet sucks.
Yeah,
so
I mean, I can imagine. Yeah, you're in a dorm. I can only imagine trying to do this. As I say, I laugh at. I mean, Aaron's got a house. I moved, but I'm still in a house. In my house, do what I want. So I can only imagine how being a 3D printing person in a dorm is.
Yeah, I'm in a fraternity, so it helps a little bit.
Okay.
Since we kind of make our own rules, but we still have campus internet. We're actually switching in the fall to like our own. I'm studying to be a network engineer, so we're like we're switching out all the access points. We're putting in our own rack, router, switches, everything, so that we can control the internet more instead of having campus control it. So that's going to help for my 3D printers. But right now I just have what you're never supposed to do in the dorms. I have a little router here. It's not connected to the internet. I'm just kind of using it as like a local area network.
Yeah.
So it works. So I can't update Klipper on any of my stuff, but it's not a big deal.
Yeah. All right. Well, hey man, it was awesome hanging out with you tonight. Thank you so much for helping. This definitely got me moving. I think I do have some couple days now. I'm going to do some of this more tuning and whatnot on this machine, and I think it'll be pretty decent. So hopefully sometime later next week I can post some nice fully calibrated prints. They won't look so absolutely insane.
Yeah. I hope Klipper works in your favor in the future.
We'll see. Again, we talked about it yesterday offline. Well, in the Discord, it definitely is something for me, having more and more custom-made printers. Having a more central place to manage them online might end up being a little bit easier for me instead of managing all these different variants of Marlin. Because as we all know, I'm not the greatest with firmware. And yeah, I can get it to work, but when it comes to updating, I rely on people like you and Keith to be like, especially Keith for Marlin. Like, Keith, hey, help me update this to the latest version of Marlin. And he does that for me and then throws it to me, and then I'm off to the races. But yeah, so it's definitely something for me to consider. Yeah, and speaking of Discord, if you guys want to tune in, it's not right there right now because I didn't set the stream up properly, but I'll put a link down below for Discord. Come hang out with us. We do all kinds of cool builds and things like this. You got people like Kennedy, smart folks to help out people like me and get this stuff running. So thank you again for hanging out with me tonight.
Thanks for having me.
I'll catch you guys all later. Have a good night. Happy printing.